a second. I'm going to put these tools away. I'll be right back. Got to go grab another tool real quick. Hey, what's up, man? What are you guys up to? What's up, Sid? What are you guys up to? So basically, today's live stream, I wanted to do a little kind of like self-reflection thing, slash, advice to guys that are just starting out. And the topic is basically, have you earned it yet? And so what I'm asking is have you earned the nice tools yet? Right? Do you think you deserve, that 1-inch Milwaukee gun or whatever to take some lug nuts off a dump truck? Have you earned, a nice welder or whatever, Back in the day, the era that my grandpa grew up in, and the era I grew up under my grandpa, right? My grandpa raised me. So that basically the way I was raised is grandpa would always say, you do the work and then you get the prize. You don't get the prize and then do the work. That's not the way it works in the world we live in, right? You got to do the work first and then you get the prize. And with today's society, we've had like some major societal decline, I think. I consider a decline, where these people can just go out, talk to a bank, and they can buy whatever they want on some credit without having done anything, right? They haven't proven themselves at all. And this is one of the reasons why business is so hard, right? Because you got guys like me that want to start a business. So we buy something old and junky and we start working on it. And next thing you know, it's running and we're making some money. And then you got guys down the street, they just go to a bank and they say, hey, I want to take out a loan. And then next day they show up with the nicest equipment. And I think that's glorified. A lot of people glorify that. Like you're going to work, you're doing your day job. Next thing you know, your coworker shows up with a brand new lifted Ford Raptor or whatever, Chevy Silverado on 35s or whatever, big diesel or whatever. You get the picture. And everybody is like, oh man, you're doing so good. You're doing so good. And they just pump him up. And they get pumped up from stuff like that. And it's like, well, let's take a step back here. You didn't do anything to deserve that, right? Now that you bought that, you're going to have to be a slave until that's paid for. You're basically going to work until it's paid for, right? You don't get to skip out on payments. So the people that go into debt like that and they buy these things and they get all glorified, everybody's like, oh, you're doing so good. Realistically, no, they're not. They jumped in over their head and they got something that they didn't deserve. And then they get this self-entitlement going where they think they deserve the best of everything just because the world revolves around. Hey, Brian, thanks for popping in. Thanks for popping in. Have fun hauling that asphalt. Hit that like button before you leave. So then you got guys like me that were raised in the old time era where it's like, okay, you start out with nothing and then you work your way to having stuff, right? But you don't owe anybody. And so I want to kind of just, let's talk about tools for a second, because this is one of the things people go way overboard on when they first start their business. You know, and they go out, they start their business. 1 year later, they got a $40,000 Snap-on toolbox. They got $50,000 worth of tools in their Snap-on box. They got, you know, foam pads up the yin-yang for their toolbox. Like, this is how some people do it, right? And it's like, they're all flexing and stuff on the internet, like, oh yeah, I just bought this, I just bought this, I just bought that. You didn't buy jack. You don't even own it. The bank, if you don't make a payment, the bank's coming to get it the next day. You don't own jack. Why are you on the internet flexing? Right? And then we will go bare. We will do whatever it takes with what we got to make it work. Right? For example, this is a 1-inch Harbor Freight impact gun. Right? I did not own one of these when I didn't own an impact when I started my business. I had a 3/4 drive ratchet with a pipe. That's how I broke the nuts loose on 85 Peterbilt. I didn't have no air gun. I had a 3/4 drive ratchet with an extension and a pipe. Right? And then I was like, okay, this, realistically, can I do it? Yes, but it's taking a long time, right? And you got to be efficient, right? But there's an ROI, a return on investment, right? Some things would be nice to have at the moment, but realistically, you don't need to spend the money on that thing at that time, you know? So we ended up buying this 1-inch impact gun. I think it was like, I don't know, at the time I think it was like $100 or $150. Something along those lines. It was cheap. It was dirt cheap, right? And then we had to buy, you know, some of these little adapter things. Here I am using a chrome socket on an impact gun. Does it work? Yeah, it works. You know, how many tools have you broken before you went out and bought the nice one? That's what I want to know. Have you actually worked for it? Have you busted your knuckles with some junk tool before you got on the internet and started flexing about all the Snap-on and everything? 90% of the people on YouTube don't. They just get a credit card and they get a line of credit and they start racking up all the debt and all the tools and all that crap. And they didn't earn jack, right? I don't know why people think it's cool to go on the internet and start flexing all the tools they got when they didn't pay cash for it. So, start out with the basics, guys. When you're starting a business, you don't need no $500,000 truck. You do not need a $1,000 Snap-on impact wrench. You know, you don't need that stuff. Start out with the basics, the minimums, right? Work your way into something, right? First of all, the guys that are starting businesses, you don't even know if you're going to be doing this long term. You don't even know if you can do it long term because you haven't done it long term, right? Some of you guys have been in a dump truck for 5 years, 10 years, and you're finally like, yeah, you know what? I think I could do this for a while. Let me buy my own truck. A lot of you guys have not taken the time, right? A lot of you guys, you're doing something and then you get this idea and you see all the glory. You see all this, everything's so glorified. Like, oh yeah, this dump truck, it's so cool, you know, blah, 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 right? And you get hyped up and you want to start a trucking business because it looks cool, it looks badass, right? But you don't get to see all the stuff that it really takes to run one of these businesses, you know? In my channel, I swear I'm one of the only channels that shows you what it's really like to run a business. Like down home, like this is what you really got to do. Like when Justin first started his channel, he did show some good content. Now all he does is he sits in his chair and talks to people, you know. He don't do nothing anymore in that business. He just manages stuff, right? He don't own it, you know. And I'm not hating on him. That was his choice, right? But I'm just saying, you know, where I came from, I run things a little bit different than most people, right? Because I was raised by an older generation, you know. I was raised by my grandfather, who was born in 1945, you know, right after the Depression. He went into the military when the country was in war, right? I mean, for crying out loud, my grandpa's 77 years old, and he still comes out and helps me on my dump truck, right? He still comes out and, you know, we just climb Mount Rainier up to Camp Muir, right? How many of your parents would do something like that at 77 with you? Just ask yourself. Like, realistically, how many of you have a parent that can do that stuff at 77 years old? You know? So it's just like, I'm sure you think the world of your parents, but they don't compare to mine, right? So the lessons I'm teaching you come from a very wise generation, you know? At least I feel like they do. I mean, you guys can see the work ethic my grandpa has. And that was definitely passed down onto me. And definitely passed down to my son. Who are you talking to? I'm on my YouTube, Mom. Okay. So, you know, I just wanted to get that off my chest. Because basically, you know, it's just been building. So, I don't know. Tell me what you guys think. Do you guys think when you're starting a business, you should just go out and start off and, you know, buy a whole bunch of, you know, nice shiny things, you know, and start your business like that? Or do you think you should, you know, start with the old stuff, you know, go to some garage sales, pick up some tools there, pick up some tools here and there, and, you know, use what works, you know, as you go, buy what you need, you know? Or do you think you should just go out and buy a whole bunch of stuff on credit, right? There is one benefit of buying like that, right? Realistically, you're not going to have, you know, you shouldn't have any problems with your tools if you're buying all brand new stuff, right? If you're buying all the expensive stuff, you should never be able to break a tool, right? Because it's new and it's fancy and it's schmancy. So you shouldn't really have that cost, right? But then again, you better remember that payment's coming out every single month. You better be working your tail off, to make sure you have the money that it's going to come back out, right? See, that one of the things that did to me and other dump truckers is I really didn't have some rich parents to bail me out, right? If my business failed, nobody would have bailed me out. My grandpa saves his money and everything, and he would try and help me, but he wouldn't be able to bail me out if my business tanked. Like, that's just not the way it works, right? Some of us don't come from families that own shops, right? Some of us have to build our own shop. So, I don't know, guys. One of the best things I can give you advice on is you got to start saving as young as possible. You got to start saving your money. You can't just be blowing it on stupid stuff, you know. Money is an easily renewable resource, but the problem is you'll never have any significant amount unless you save it, right? You'll never have a nest egg unless you start putting away those tiny little flakes of gold, right? Yeah, Paul was driving up to, I think it was Seattle today. I'm going to be working tomorrow, though. Paul's taking care of some family stuff, so I'll be driving tomorrow. And then when I get back, me and Grandpa are going to go up to the mountains, and we're going to stay in a hotel, and then the next day we're going to go on a hike, take some more pictures of some cool mountain stuff. It's going to be an 8-mile hike, I think. It's going to be like 4,000 foot elevation gain. It's going to be a good hike. It's going to be in the mountains, so it ain't going to be no walk in the park, right? So, anyways, I'm pretty excited about it. We planned it about a month ago to schedule at least one hike per month, where we go out, we do a significant hike, probably more than 5 miles, and go see something cool, take some pictures, and then, call it a day or whatever. This one's kind of far away, though, so we're going to stay in a hotel. Delivering well now, getting my Class A license in March to drive dump trucks. Hell yeah, Jose. Dude, I used to deliver heating oil. That new $70,000 to $80,000 pickup is a bad investment. They're overpriced. Yeah, they are overpriced, and you really don't need a $70,000 or an $80,000 pickup, guys. You don't need a $70,000 pickup, right? My pickup was $45,000, right? And I've been in business for 5 years before I even bought mine, right? So it's not like I started my business the next year I was getting the biggest lifted diesel Duramax or whatever pickup. That's a lot of guys do this. They go into business, and Justin, this is what cracks me up the most about Justin too, is he says the same thing. He's like, oh, people just go into business, next thing you know that they're buying a jacked up truck or whatever, and then next thing you know they're buying boats, and then they're cheating on their wife, and then they're going out of business or whatever. I remember he said that in a video, and it's like, okay, you started your business, then 2 years later, you were buying a brand new pickup, $70,000 Chevy, whatever it was. I was just like, okay, you said people don't do this, and then you went and did it. It's like, whatever. I don't know. I don't know, guys. I don't know. It's been a work in progress getting this shop to here, though. Let me tell you what. It has been a work in progress. We got a concrete pad. What is a good starter dump truck? That's a good question, Jose. It depends on what area you're in. Number one, like I would say, if you're in more of a rural area, the options are different than if you're in a city. And it also, what part of the industry you're trying to go into also, right? Because each dump truck has its own specific like part of the industry, right? So you got these 5 yard to 10 yard dump trucks, the tandem axle dump trucks. They're usually going to be like on site, small, tight job sites, hauling 5-10 yards. You might be hauling in 20 yards tops, you know, probably 60 yards tops in a day. A lot of the times, guys that own those dump trucks have to own equipment to keep their dump truck busy, because they're hard to hire out, right? Because there's just not a lot of volume of work for those types of dump trucks. Love you. So, me personally, I got the smallest big dump truck, right? I got one drop axle on my old Peterbilt, right? It was a tri-axle. And what that did was that put me one step above the weekend warriors, right? Because the 10 tons or the tandem axle dump trucks in Washington, they're like the weekend warrior trucks in my mind. I don't see them working every day unless they own a landscape yard, or it's working for the city, right? The city owns those trucks. City has lots of those trucks, and that's because they can afford to be inefficient, right? And then I see the small-time excavation contractors owning those trucks. But I've never met a guy who owned just one axle dump truck and was making a good living, keeping it busy. Because, man, the amount of hustle you would have to keep a small truck like that busy would be a lot. You'd have to have a lot of hustle, I would imagine, right? So I went with the smallest big truck, a tri-axle, and those are used, not year-round, but pretty close to it, because they're hauling 15 tons versus 10 tons. So almost, they're hauling 1/3 more weight than a tandem, right? Which is a considerable amount, right? And the nice thing about tandem dump trucks is they're so short, you can still get them into almost all job sites. Like, there's probably only like 5% of job sites, maybe 10%, that you can't fit a tandem in. Right? And so, me personally, bare minimum, if you want to get into the dump truck game in Washington, I would say you have to get at least a tri-axle dump truck. Right? And the things you're going to be doing in that dump truck, most likely, are you're going to be doing some possible road construction, right? A lot of times in the cities, they'll hire a small tandem tri-axle dump truck because they're tearing up a section of road. It's not a big section, so they don't need a truck and trailer, right? Utility work, right? I did that for a full year. That's basically all I did for a full year, was basically utility work, where somebody was breaking up the road, taking the chunks of asphalt and the chunks of concrete and tossing it in the dump truck, and I was dumping it. And I did literally one load a day almost for a full year, right? Another thing you'll be doing with with a tri-axle dump truck is a lot of foundation work. Like if people are doing the dig out for a basement, or just that type of thing, right? That is pretty big with tri-axle dump trucks, or paving. You start to get in the paving game. paving game, or I should say the rental paving game, right? Because if you have a tandem dump truck, a 2-axle, it's got 2 drive axles, no drop axles, you're probably not going to get rented out because you don't haul the weight. Unless you're working for a paving company that doesn't own a single dump truck and they're just doing a small driveway, then they may hire you for that. But the amount of work volume you're going to get is like this big. So I would say minimum triaxle, quad axle, simple 16. That's a good place to start. The other thing I think is really cool about buying a triaxle or bigger is eventually you're going to put a pup trailer behind it probably. What?
Nothing.
You just want to watch me talk to my phone?
Yeah.
Talking to my phone right now because I haven't seen any comments or anything, right? So I don't even know if anybody's even watching. I don't have a truck yet. Should I be making calls looking for work already? Oh, definitely, Larry. Definitely. You need to be putting the word out. If you're considering buying a dump truck, you definitely need to be telling people, like, yeah, I'm thinking about it. Hey, man, I'm thinking about it. Do you guys hire dump trucks? I remember doing that. I remember telling people that I was going to start my own business. And then, but I hadn't nailed anything down. And then it really happened pretty quick, right? I remember vividly, we were in a restaurant, me, Kinsey, and her parents. And I said, I'm going to start a business. And I said, I got 3 choices here. I said, I can do mobile welding because I love welding. I could do a dump truck business. I could do roofing. And I absolutely hated roofing. And this is when I was driving fuel trucks, right?
That was out of the question.
Yeah, and so I was like, I'm not doing roofing. I know how to do it. I'm good at it. I don't want to do it. It sucks. It's hard work. You're in the weather 100% of the day. It's hard on your knees, hard on your back. You can make a killing, but it's just one of those feast or famines, like seriously feast or famine jobs. And then I figured, you know what? Everybody says if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And that's bullcrap. That is bullcrap. So I tried to start my welding business, but I didn't go full throttle. I did it part-time. And I started advertising on Craigslist, and I would do those side jobs after work, after hours, right? On a weekend. And I got a taste. I had 2 full days of like nonstop welding where I made a decent amount of money. Like I literally made like $700 in a day, or 2 times $700. I made $1,400 in 2 days. And I was like, wow, I can make some serious money. But that literally sucked balls. Like, I'm not doing that. I did not like doing it. You're breathing the smoke all day. You're sweating all day because you got leathers on and you got all your hood on. And, with the hood, it puts pressure on your neck. And I was like, I love welding. It's not me, And then,
Not that much.
And then there's the other aspect, right? I was doing mobile welding, right? I didn't have no welding truck, right? I had a Ford Escape. So I was throwing my FlexCore welder with a tank in the back of the Escape on its side, and then I'd get to the job and I'd have an extension cord out to my FlexCore welder, and I have and actually I didn't even have a tank. I was using a FlexCore. I didn't even need a tank, but you get the picture. I was lugging this welder around in the back of a SUV, right? And I was just like, yeah, this ain't the setup to make money, And then I finally was like, I gave it a shot. I don't like welding full time. I love welding art and stuff, doing stuff like that, but it's not full time for me. And so then my grandpa had given me this D700 dump truck, and I was going to use that for roofing offs, because it was old. You could see through the floor. It was really a dump truck. How much is getting your authority and insurance for dump truck? Getting your authority, when I did it, it was like $400, and insurance for 6 months was $5,000 my first year.
That's in Washington State.
In Washington State.
It might be different in different states.
Yeah, in different states it's gonna be different rates. Right? But I'm pretty sure the getting your authority, your DOT number, that's pretty much standard across the board. Just go to the FMCSA, .org website, and you can get your DOT number that way. That website was a pain in the butt. And then once you finish it, you're going to have unlimited telemarketers calling you. Like, oh, you have to have this. You have to have this to be qualified. You have to have this and this and that and this and that. And basically, it's a bunch of money suckers calling you. Like, you got a dump? You got a semi? You got money. Let me get some of that money. Basically. Okay? And so I bought the triaxle. That's the way I went. And then I still get those calls, bro. It's so annoying. It's like, dude, I've been in business 5 years. I've never answered your phone call. Quit calling me. Like, come on, man. This is going on year 6. Get out of here. I haven't given you money for that long. I'm probably not going to do it. Plan on getting my Class A at the end of this year, and then am going to drive water truck for oil and gas industry, and I'm planning on eventually buying a dump truck. There you go, Antonio. Get some experience. That'll be good for you. Right? You'll know if you want to drive truck. After the first 2 years of driving truck, even if you're driving truck for somebody else, after the first 2 years, you'll know if you're a truck driver. Like, I was delivering roofing, humping those bundles, and I just seen the drivers, and they would drive, and they were making $4 an hour more than me, and I was like, man, I gotta get my CDL. They're literally doing less work than me and making $4 an hour more than me. Like, that's a no-brainer for me. What about emissions around here? Just south of you, we can run older stuff for now if we stay within 150 miles of for driving older stuff. Yeah, we can run old trucks here too. I could still run my 85 Detroit. You can run a 1960s if you want. Right? Just be aware, eventually emissions laws are coming. I'm not trying to scare you away from driving an older truck. Just be aware, And are they going to happen overnight? No, it's not going to happen overnight. No, they're not going to just shut you off of your business overnight. It's a major process. Then, getting all these laws put into effect. They don't happen like that. It happens over time, right? And you can basically say California is, they're the ones that try and set the standard, Oh, you can cross the line into Portland. Yeah, I don't think Portland has any emissions laws, that I know of. I know California does. But, and here's the thing, guys. A lot of you guys have got to change your mindset of, a lot of people get so paralyzed because of their fear of breaking a rule or a law that they don't do anything. They get so caught up in, oh, what if I get in trouble for driving this older truck, or what if this, and it's like, dude, if you let that type of stuff paralyze you, you're not going to have fun in business. You got to adapt. You got to be adaptable, right? And so when I first bought my old truck, I knew without a shadow of a doubt, I wasn't going to be driving the truck forever, right? I knew it. Everybody said it too. Everybody's like, well, what are you going to do, Brian, if the Washington State outlaws that pig? Then what you going to do? What you going to do, huh? It's like, no, duh, dude, I'm going to buy a different truck and I'm going to keep running, duh. It's like, you do what you got to do, right? You just can't let that type of fear paralyze you from stopping what you want to do long term. And a lot of people have that where, and I was that way too for a long time, where it's like you feel like you have to get permission from somebody to run your own business. Like, no, dude, when you're running your own business, you're the boss. You make the rules, you follow your own rules, and the government makes guidelines, right? And if you happen to break one of their guidelines, they're going to tell you about it, and then you adjust your plan. That's just the way it goes a lot of times. Most people are stuck in an employee mindset. They'll never escape wage slavery. Bingo, right there. And that's what a lot of it is, right there. Right? They have this false sense of security, right? And I was there for a little bit too. When I was working for Love's, delivering fuel for Love's, I loved my job because it was so stress-free and so easy. Like, I would have given up any dream just to keep the peace because it was such a peaceful job. Like, I click on my computer screen, I find out what load I'm doing. I go up to Seattle, get loaded. I'm not talking to anybody. I don't have to talk to anybody. I get to the gas station, walk in the door. I'm king, because I'm delivering the fuel. Press the little Vita root. The print comes out. I say, okay, yep, looks like the fuel fit. Dump. Go back to the terminal. Do my 3 loads, and I was done. Right? But the reality of the situation is you think you're safe as an employee. You're not safe. There is no safety in being an employee. There is no safety in being an employee because literally, this is how easy it is. If their balance sheet shows negative, you're fired. You're not making the company money, you're fired. That easy. Business is to make money. If you're not making the company money, you're gone. It's that easy. If you become a liability, you're gone, right? And so a lot of you people need to realize that. Every business is that way. Yeah, there are sometimes you can get away with more at some companies. Sometimes you can get away with less at other companies, depending on who you know and how you know them. But at the end of the day, if you died tomorrow, they will have a job listing tomorrow for you. And that's just the cold hard truth about any job, right? As soon as you're dead, they got to find somebody else to put in that seat. So there is no safety in being an employee, right? You actually have more safety being self-employed because you get to see the actual numbers of the business, right? You get to see the actual gears coming together, right? You get to see if things aren't working out the way they should be. Job posted by the end of the week, and your coworker won't get the day off for the funeral. Oh, dude, that's funny. That's true, though. Most people are stuck in an employee mindset. They'll never escape wage slavery. Yep. They've never had to struggle to put their own money up and be something better in life. Why did you decide on a dump truck and not over-the-road trucking? Yeah, we're still doing excavation. Okay, so why did I choose a dump truck versus over the road? Okay, number one reason, I wanted to be home every night, right? I had a little bit of experience, when I worked for Big Rigs Tankers. For about 8 months, I was basically a long-haul truck driver. I would leave Monday at 2 in the morning. Wouldn't get back until Saturday evening or Friday evening, right? So I was gone a whole week. I'd leave for Vancouver, sleep in Vancouver, right? Get loaded. Then next thing you know, I'd be delivering K Falls, driving all the way back to Albany, staying the night in Albany, going back to Vancouver, get loaded, going back to K Falls, then staying the night in Oak Ridge or or K Falls, whichever one it worked out to be. But I was gone the whole week, right? And while I did like that, because I could literally focus on making so much money, and I wasn't spending any money because I wasn't home, right? Right? And my wife, she don't spend money. So we were literally just boom, the money coming in, and we weren't spending anything because I never had time to spend it. But I realized I did not want that because I could never see my kids, right? When you get home on Friday, you just want to go to sleep because you've been driving the whole time, right? And then Saturday, you're catching up on everything that you didn't do during the week, you know, taking the trash out. You got your little side project car you're working on. You got this or that. Oil needs to be changed. Trash needs to be taken out. The, you know, the faucet's leaking, or, you know, you get the picture. The lawn needs to be mowed. Boom. You don't have time for nothing. When you get back, you have no time to spend with your family, right? And so if you don't have a family, bingo, do it. I mean, that's, you know, and the thing about doing long haul is you don't even have to find the work. You can go on a load board and you can just say, yep, sign me up for this load. You know, boom, you're already working, right? But I didn't like the idea of being gone for a very long time. You know, because I wanted to see my kids grow up. I wanted to see, you know, their first steps. I wanted to see them, you know, say their first words. Like, dude, I'm gonna be there for that. You know, yeah, I don't want to be home 24/7 changing diapers every day, but you know, I want to be there for the important moments. I want to be there to be impressionable, you know, to inspire them. I don't need to be there every day, but I don't want to be gone for weeks at a time, right? So that's one of the reasons why I chose dump trucking over long haul. Also, I don't have a lot of experience um, traveling per se. I've never really been to hardly any states, right? I've been in Washington, I've been to Oregon, I've been to Idaho, I've been to Utah, and I think I landed in Georgia on a flight one time. That's it. Like, I can almost count them all on one hand, all the states I've been to out of 50, right? So, you know, another thing is when you're doing long haul that a lot of people probably aren't aware of is you have to have some sort of network, right? Because if you break down 20, you know, 5 states over, do you know somebody there that can help you out? Or are you calling some mobile mechanic that you're reading the Yelp reviews on because you don't know anybody in the area? So you're taking a gamble on somebody coming out to help you, and they may be worthless, right? If you stay in your home state, you know what mechanics to work with. You know which ones to stay away from. You know the closest tire shop. You know, so that's one thing. Why you decided on dump truck over the road? Yep. You're still doing excavation? Yep. So I actually just got done with a driveway install today. Basically, I just the guy's driveway, he had asphalt and then he had gravel, but it was like this. It would go boom, and there was like this hill, and then it's concrete, right? And he had this little turnaround, but it was all like pure dust. And when it rains, it turned into pure mud. And so I ended up, you know, taking the grade down of his driveway and taking all that extra rock and putting it around this turnaround that he wanted, to bring in some new rock, and installed that today. And that worked out pretty well. Got a bid next week going down the road, so I can install a power trench. Just did a utility trench, like, I don't know, last week or something like that. So yeah, I still do excavation. We still do land clearing. We still do all that jazz. We still do demolition. How do I charge customers for excavation work? Well, to be quite honest with you, I just bid the job the way I think it's gonna go. Yeah, by the job. I bid it by the job. When I first started, I did by the hour, and that's because I didn't know jack squat. And I ended up working so many hours and not making a lot of money for it, because a lot of times you find it hard to charge a customer time that you're on the job but not at their place. Like, so let me give you an example. Like, I would feel bad charging somebody when I'm driving from my place to their house with the machine, like a delivery fee. Like, because they don't see how long I'm actually working, so it's hard for them to actually justify, like, did it really take him an hour to get here, or was he just dragging his feet? You know, they see that time, they don't know where it comes from, and so I would just charge a higher rate without a mobilization fee. And so you know, and I charged a minimum also, you know, and that would help cover the mobilization, right? So when I first started out, I was $120 an hour with a 6-hour minimum, right? And that was basically me showing up with my machine for 6 hours, do whatever you want me to do. You're pimping me out. I'm not bringing any product in. If you want product, it's on top of that. Right? So $700. Now I'm at the point where, you know, I'm charging $2,000 to show up, right? And if I work for one day, you know, $2,000 probably. If it's going to be longer than a day, it's probably going to be 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 20. You know, it depends on what the job is, right? It depends on, you know, like, let's say I'm doing a power trench, right? Let's throw out some numbers. 600 feet, okay? Well, my 600-foot bid, there's going to be a couple things that determine what I'm charging, right? Am I digging in rock, or am I digging in clay, or am I digging in sand? And what am I digging in, right? Am I crossing utilities, right? Am I crossing power, water, fiber, communications, steam, gas? Am I crossing lines? Am I crossing your septic tank? Or am I crossing your sewer pipe? You know, do you got some random wire out there that you know about but you don't know where it's at? And if I rip it up, I'm repairing it. You know, your sprinkler system, am I working around that? You know? And the number goes up really quick. If I have to deal with bullcrap like that, the number goes up real quick. You know, because I understand the way it works a lot of times is when you're digging, you have basically 2 or 3 options, right? You can just dig as fast as you want and tear everything up and repair it, right? That's one way of doing it. Or you can pothole it, right? You can just sit there and dig up each intersection by hand, or have somebody dig it up by hand. Or you can have a spotter watch you and you dig painfully slow and hope that the spotter sees it when you see it. Yeah. So, you know, it just comes down to what is the customer willing to do. You know, if they want me to do 100% of the work, I'm potholing it, right? It's going to get potholed, and I'm probably going to charge you $700 per pothole. If I'm doing a pothole, I'm charging you $700 because I'm digging that by hand. I don't want to dig that by hand. You get out here with the shovel. You can dig it. You can save yourself $700, right? I'll just come out with my machine, $1,000, bust out the trench, you know, for $1,500. You do all the potholes. I bust it out for $1,500, $2,000, depending on how long it is. If I don't got to worry about any of the potholes, you know. If I got to pothole it, it's gonna be $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 because I don't want to dig by hand, you know. And especially depending on where you're digging too. Like, you know, around here we have clay, we have hard pan, we have sand, we have pit run, you know, glacial till. We got all that stuff. You know, it just depends on what you're digging in, right? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to say no. I'm just going to charge a lot more. Yeah, exactly. Amen. Amen, Blake. To dig by hand. So, here's the other thing, right? So, you can either pothole, which, you know, I like potholing because you see exactly where it is. You can dig right up to it. You know exactly where it's going to be, right? The other method is you charge extremely more so you can dig very slowly and watch what you're digging, right? And, you know, if you're digging over a water line, chances are you're going to just scrape it and you'll find it. If you're digging over a power line and you touch that thing, you're calling the electric company to fix it. Yeah, I'll take that. Thank you. What? I need to get...
Oh, God.
I need to go to bed or what?
No.
Oh.
Just dropping that off.
So, I mean, it is what it is. You know? When I first started, I charged by the hour and I got ripped off. That's all I'm going to say. I did so much work and I did not get paid what I get paid now. Now, I walk up to a job site and I say, okay, yeah, $2,500 for me to show up and do it. $3,500. Yeah. Trust me, Blake. I've hit 3 power lines in my excavation days so far. 3, you know, primary power, 7,700 volts. And the first time I hit one, I didn't even know I hit it. We were digging, we were getting ready to lay the fiber optic in the trench. The next thing I know, this fire bolt pops out of the ground about 6 feet tall, right? Green flames. Like, it was like something from Ghostbusters, right? That's what it looked like. Yeah, it was, dude, and my cousin Brandon was like, he was probably like 5 feet away from it when it happened. I was sitting on the excavator. I was probably 10, 15 feet away, you know, but he was like he was closer, right? I'll never forget that. Because we're like, what the heck just happened? And then we ended up calling PUD, you know, Public Utility District. They showed up. And, you know, sure enough, what had happened was when we were digging, somehow a rock got pushed into one of the wires. And it just dented it. And it started heating up. And it had a weak spot in it. And then next thing you know, poof, it just blew out of it, you know. And, you know, that was $5,000 in one day. I think I still have the breaker from it. Maybe not. I don't know if I tossed it or what. But it was like fiberglass circuit breaker. And then the second time I hit power, they had marked the trench. The people that did the locating were wrong, right? Which was very common. The third time I hit power, the same off on their painting, right? Right? Because I call up the 811 dig and I get them out there to locate everything. They paint it on the ground and I stay far away from that as I can because I don't want to have to deal with digging over stuff. Because I don't want to do potholes. I don't want to have somebody spotting me, watching me dig over this stuff. Right? So, you know. Yeah, the first one I ended up paying for that. The second 2 times I hit it, I didn't have to pay for it. You know. But, you know, it is what it is. But, yeah, we still do excavation, you know, and I've learned a lot in the, you know, 2 years that I've been doing it. And, you know, when you first start, you're learning, you're not going to make the money that you should be making, you know, because you're inexperienced, right? And you're giving them a deal because of your inexperience, right? They don't have to know you're inexperienced, but you know that you're inexperienced, so you're giving them a deal by charging them by the hour, time and materials, right? Once you get to my level or people that are more advanced, you know what to charge. You just bid it out, and you don't have to break down costs for anybody. You just say, hey, this is what it's going to cost. Take it or leave it. The cost to do the job is $10,500. The cost not to do the job is zero. Right? That's what it comes down to at the end of the day. They can take it or leave it. So, anyways, guys. Oh, I ended up taking that Bosch back. You guys want to see the new Milwaukee tool I got? I showed you guys that one. That bandsaw. That thing is slick. This is the other Milwaukee tool I just bought. I took the Bosch back because it was just a demolition hammer. This one is a rotary hammer. Brand spanking new. Check that out. This thing is money. If you need to drill into some concrete or something, it's got the drill hammer. This right here is an anti-vibration handle, right? It is like a spring or something. And this right here too is anti-vibration. So, I mean, it's top of the line tool right here. So, I don't know what I'm going to use it for yet, but I bought it. Yeah, I got a Hilti jackhammer, but I didn't have one of those. Right? So if I want to drill into my concrete slab, I want to be able to use that thing. Right? And then that's the box for the bandsaw, which is sweet. Look at all this electrical stuff we bought. Like, we got so much stuff here. So, once I got off the phone with you guys, I did that. I got 3 GFIs. 1, 2, 3. And then I ended up switching this one to a GFI. Yeah. Well, and see, that's the thing, Blake. I got this drill in here. Don't get me wrong. It's a nice drill. That rigid. It's a hammer drill. And it's nice. But it don't do nothing compared to that thing. That thing will just annihilate that rigid. It'll just totally annihilate it. Hey, thanks, man. It's like an art form, man. It really is an art form. So, you think it looks cool now? Wait till we do this side. Because what we're going to end up doing for this side is we're going to come out, go along the wall, go up on the ceiling, back around, back down, and then back this way. So we got a lot of conduit still left to do. We got a lot of conduit left to do. But yeah, it's an art, man. Bending conduit is an art. And it's meticulous stuff, you got to be meticulous. Yeah. Yeah, every single one of those is slightly bent to get it closer to the wall. you know. And the cool thing is, you know, it's really simple too, because basically what you do is you start off. Here's what I did. If you notice, I marked every single one of these at 2 inches or whatever I marked it at, and that's where I did the first bend, second bend, and then once I did the first one, I knew what the distance was, and so I just copied it with the rest. Same distance, boom, 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 right? Screwed them all in, and then just kept working my way down. And that's another thing too. Use a level, you know. You know. So it's pretty fun, guys. Doing stuff like this is one of my favorite things to do. And I literally stayed up till 12 o'clock last night doing this, because I was just like, you get in one of those zones, right? I'm the type of person, when I put my mind to it, I just keep chipping away until it's done. You know what I mean? It's just, I'm going to work on it until it's done. If you guys are going to do something like this, I'm going to recommend a couple tools, right? These are my most used tools for this whole project right here. This little Husky bag. I just bought this Husky bag because I kept misplacing all these tools. I just got so sick of it. So I bought this little bag that could fit all the tools that I was using constantly, and I can just put this on my belt. But let me show you the tools that I've been using this whole time. Right, so obviously I got my tape measure. This one's nice because it has the magnet on the end, right? So it works really well in here. Then we got this tool. This is a, I believe it's a Keen. Yeah, Klein. It's a Klein tool, right? This thing is cool, right? Because, okay, so check this out. You got that, then this comes out, and then these come out, right? So this is like, I don't know how many tools in one, but it's a lot, right? So that comes apart, and then you got this side, which also comes apart. That one comes apart, that comes out of there, and they all have these little ball bearings, right? So they're not just magnetized in there. You know, they're magnetized and they have a ball bearing. So they really stay in there pretty good. This tool has been very useful. Very useful. And when I bought it, I remember looking at the packaging, because it's funny, I'm like, oh, it's got like 20 tools in one or whatever. And I pull it out. I'm like, no, it doesn't. They gypped me. It's only got 2 tools, right? And I'm looking in there. I'm like, oh, is there a little pouch inside of there where they stashed them? Obviously not. And then I finally figured it out. I'm like, oh, dang, they're all in here. So that's a cool tool to have. And then I got this tool right here, which this is like a screwdriver and like a reamer for the conduit. You put the conduit in there and then you spin it and it takes all the burrs off of it, right? That was a handy tool, right? And then I bought this new, these are wire strippers. They're brand new and they are precision tool. You know the ones that you get from O'Reilly's, and they're the automotive ones, and they're just complete junk. And when you squeeze them, the teeth don't even line up. There's like space in between the teeth. Yeah, don't do a project like that with those. Get something like this. All right, and then I also got my channel locks to tighten up these, the other stuff. Oh, and then the other one that is not in that little tool bag is one of my favorite all-time tools, my DeWalt impact driver. This thing, I can't live without this tool. This is a 20-volt max DeWalt impact driver, and this thing has come in handy so many times. Invaluable. Invaluable. But anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out with me for the past hour. I really enjoyed chit-chatting with you guys. And, hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. And, hope your weekend goes well. And I look forward to seeing you guys on the next live stream. Before you check out, go ahead and hit that like button. Tell YouTube that we got some good content here by liking that. Share the video if you feel like it. And catch you guys on the next one. You missed it, Richard. What the heck, bro? We've been out here for an hour. Now you just show up? Heck yeah. Well, I'll catch you guys later.